Whether you get an early warning or it just happens, here are the first things you should do after SHTF. First off, you need to see what's happening and what you need to do. Is it a nuke? Is it a major natural disaster? Is it widespread riots? Is it cyber warfare that caused a power grid collapse? Is it a major outbreak with a high fatality rate? If it's just the beginning stages of a collapse, you may get the info from the news, you may get a phone notification, or you may have to turn on your NOAA emergency radio to get that information. Based on what's going on and where you are, you'll decide what your next steps are. Now, one thing you need to know is that you may not be at an ideal location when SHTF happens. A lot of people imagine that when SHTF happens, they'll be at home with all their family members and they can start from there. That's ideal, but it may not actually be that way. You may be at work, then you get an emergency notification, and you remember your kids are at school and you have to pick them up. You could be on a business trip, you could be at a picnic. But wherever you are, the ideal thing to do is get your family together and head home if it's possible. Because when you're at home with family, you have all your supplies, you're more calm, and you can defend yourself more efficiently than if you're running around the city. Now, depending on the situation, you may even have to take your family and leave your home. If it's a flood, if it's a wildfire, if it's any situation where it's too dangerous to stay at your home, you and your family have to gather all your bug-out bags and supplies. And by the way, I hope you have bug-out bags for each family member and not just yourself. But anyway, you grab your gear and head out. You can get in a vehicle and try to use back roads or alternate routes because the main roads will most likely be blocked. If the vehicle is not an option, then you may have to walk. If it's a nuclear emergency, depending on what info you get, how early you get it, and where the nuke is headed, you could either be told by emergency personnel to stay at home or leave your area. If the instructions are unclear and we have no idea where it's going to land, your best bet is probably just to go into your basement, and you need to remember to have your gas masks ready and to also have your potassium iodide pills. I have full videos on YouTube about potassium iodide, what it is, and how to use it. I also have full videos on what to do in a nuclear emergency if you guys want to check those out. If the tap is working, you need to fill up all your extra buckets, water breaks, pots, and pans with water, and you should fill up your bathtub as well. Get as much water together as possible because the water may eventually get shut off and you want to have some extra emergency water. Now, if you have something like a Baofeng radio and you made plans with a prepper group, you can communicate with them, and if you made arrangements where you'll meet up at your home or their location, then go ahead and do that if it's safe. If possible, avoid going to the stores to get supplies. Ideally, as a prepper, you should have everything you need and you can sit at home and strategize your next moves while everyone is fighting over canned beans at the grocery store. The grocery stores will be in complete chaos, so you don't want to risk your safety to get some extra stuff, especially if you already have supplies at home and have family at home who rely on you. Next, you need to figure out how you're going to defend your home. Depending on how bad it is and what's going on, some things you may need to do are close all your windows, lock your doors, put a door bar on the front door, maybe close your blinds, and if you have a retractable security gate for your backyard glass doors, make sure to pull it out and lock it. And finally, get your weapons ready in case the bad guys are able to make it in. I have a full video on prepper home security if you want to check it out. Now, as time goes on and we go into weeks or months, there are a few things to consider and a few rules to follow. Like, don't talk to your neighbors and brag about how much supplies you have, unless you're willing to share with them and risk that they may tell other people you have lots of supplies as well. Once news spreads that you have lots of food and supplies, there may be people who want to come and take it from you, so be careful. Another thing you need to do is try to ration your food. Eat a lot less than you normally do. One benefit is that you'll save your supplies, and the second reason is that if you're outside your house and the whole neighborhood looks malnourished and skinny, then you come out looking strong and well fed, it's definitely going to draw attention and inform people that you have lots of supplies, and again, they might want to come take them from you. If everyone in your neighborhood is looking dirty, smells bad, has torn up clothes, and you come out with your nails done, makeup smelling good, and with nice clean clothes, Again, people are going to look at you and see that you're doing very well and try to come take your supplies. I'm not saying to stop taking care of your hygiene, but you need to make sure you blend in and look like everyone else, or even worse. When cooking, use something like an emergency stove that uses propane or fuel tabs and do it indoors. And obviously do it beside an open window because of carbon monoxide. But the reason I'm saying to do it indoors and use one of those stoves is because if your neighborhood is starving and you're outside cooking steak over a fire, the smell of food and the smoke from the fire will draw the wrong kind of attention. If you have no choice but to cook food over a backyard campfire, then do it at night while people will be sleeping, and do it very quickly. As time goes on and you start running out of supplies, you will need to make a plan to go out and get more. You will need to go out and hunt food, get wild edibles, and go out to get water. And when you get that water, you have to make sure to purify it and make it safe to drink. You can use water filters, water purification tabs, or you can just boil it. Think about the different ways and scenarios you will gather supplies. You may want to get into a warehouse and get some supplies that way. It'll be an urban environment and it may be dangerous, so you need a weapon to defend yourself. You should consider body armor for protection, and you might need to carry a crowbar and bolt cutters to get into places. If you're out hunting for food and gathering wild edibles and water, you may need a hunting weapon and you will need a container to carry the water and wild edibles. If it's a long-term scenario where you are locked in your house, boredom will be an issue for you and especially your kids. Instead of sitting there being miserable and thinking, why me? Start doing stuff. Play board games with your family, play cards, read books, and just do stuff that'll pass time. Hopefully you have all the stuff in advance. If you don't, then go out and get it. It may be a good idea to download this video and save it so you can view it even if the internet stops working, so you'll still have something to reference. Same thing goes for any other video you think might be useful after SHTF. And by the way, most of the stuff you saw in today's video will be linked in the link tree in the description of the video or on the profile page, depending on where you're watching this. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.